You may have a seat if you feel like.
Yep.
And I'll have my testimony split in 3 parts: before college, during college, and after my first 2 years of college.
Right.
And then of course also the part where I became a Christian and after that. Yeah. So before I became a Christian, I did grow up in a church through high school. It was a Methodist church, but it wasn't as big as Second Baptist is now. But I rarely told anyone at school that I went to church because, mainly because most of my friends at school were different from friends at church. So, and I put my emphasis on high school sports and academics. I had church activities. I was on the swim team, and I was too busy putting academics ahead of church activities, so I wasn't involved in church as much except on Sunday morning. And then, in fall of 2010, I went to a school called Lamar University in Poland after high school. And I befriended some Christian friends there, and I knew them for about, I still know what they look like, but I actually hung out with them for about 2 years while I was at school there. In my first year at Lamar University, I did focus on academics, but I also started getting more involved in the extracurricular activities there, like the Christian ones. In my second year, I was so powerful about my first year that I became depressed when I started losing friends my second year. And it's from a lack of cooperation from my friends to me at the time. And because of that, I failed most classes as a result that year. And then now, here's how I became a Christian. It happened toward the end of the spring 2012 semester at Lamar University. And my Christian friends are horse playing with each other when one of them had an eye popped out of the socket. And everyone else in the room, including myself, began to pray for healing for him, and his eye went back in the socket. And prior to this event, I did not believe that supernatural miracles like in our time could happen, and also did not. I knew that bad things could happen to good people, but I wasn't fully aware that good things happen in bad circumstances, which they can. And after becoming a Christian, after that, I left Lamar University after the end of that semester, but I got a lot of friends when I moved back to Houston after going to Beaumont for 2 years. And I also got an associate science degree after spring 2013 semester from Lone Star College. I still go to Lone Star College though, mainly for BSM and Chemistry for Christ events, and the meetings too. And now, whenever I think of getting depressed, I now am optimistic about good things in the situation rather than being depressed about the whole bad thing about it. And anyone have any feedback so far about testimony? Any questions? No? That's interesting. Yeah. I know I went really fast, but sorry if I wasn't exactly clear yet. I mean,
it's okay. You still took the time to tell us how you became saved and how God used the miracle you saw to enjoy it too. So.
Okay. And you don't want to pray us out, I suppose.
Does anybody else want to share anything? Anything that they've done during this week or saw during this week what brought you to Christ was a miracle,
yeah.
That you saw a miracle and you accepted Jesus. So is there anything that anybody's seen this week or maybe previous in their life that is as similar to James' story? Have they ever seen a miracle or anything that kind of was just like, whoa, that's crazy? Because I personally haven't, but sorry to steal it away, I guess, but my brother Peter went on a mission trip once. And he's actually not a believer, unfortunately, but he was going through a time in high school, actually no, it was college, sorry. He went on a mission trip to Mexico, and the trip was to go help build houses for the poor. And while they were building houses, they were doing some street evangelism. And he speaks fluent Spanish. He's one of my brothers who still speaks fluent Spanish from when we lived in Colombia. So he helped translate for this lady that was walking up to a couple of his friends who only spoke Spanish, and she was telling them that her son had never been able to speak. There was something that he was born with where his tongue was like swollen, was constantly swollen, so he couldn't actually say any words, and they were just having trouble with like feeding him and stuff, and he was just having a horrible life so far. But the family was very religious, and they came up to the group and were asking for help, and my brother Peter got a bunch of friends to come over and put their hands on the son and pray for him. And after about just a little while of praying, the son actually said, he tried to say thank you, I think, or some word, and they actually understood what he was saying. He said it in Spanish, of course, but the mother just broke down and accepted Christ, I believe, right on the spot. And they had been religious, but they hadn't been following Christ. And so they explained to her that when you follow Christ, that's when you can start to see your life change, and you can actually start to be a true Christian. And the son, apparently, I don't know, I haven't heard anything since he came back from that mission trip, but while they were there, they kept on checking in with the son, and he was doing a lot better. His tongue was a little was starting to loosen the swelling. It started to go down, and he was actually speaking. It was still kind of mumbled, kind of rough to hear, but that was one of those miracles that brought her to Christ. So it's amazing sometimes how we can see God do crazy miracles, and we can actually still see him in our time. Because you can always read the Bible and hear all these cool stories of Jesus going around and curing the blind, but it's almost hard to believe now because we don't see it. He's not here to do it in front of our eyes. So when we do have the Spirit come down and do those miracles for us, or when God grants somebody their compassion like that, it's just amazing to see. So that's awesome that you got to see that firsthand.
Yeah.
My brother came back with that story, and I thought that was crazy. But
And also, even before that thing, I did believe miracles that followed the laws of physics, but they're not the ones that didn't.
right?
Yeah, so.
Yeah, that definitely is against laws of physics. All right, well, today was short, but I hope you guys all thought that was pretty cool. Thanks for sharing, James.
For me, I always believe music has power because I'm a musician, it's something I love. A little bit over a month ago, at the church I go to, my sister called me to church. We were on the worship team, we were playing music. A few days later, our director sent us a text saying that after service, some lady came up to her and said, "It's my first time coming to this church. I've never really been a believer, but something drew me here." And all week she was struggling because she was going through a little bit of depression. And she said one of the songs we played, I can't remember which one, during the song, she started crying, and something inside of her heart was telling her, "I'm freeing you right now." And she was like, I've never felt that before. And something just drew her closer to God that moment. A few weeks later, she gave herself to God.
That's awesome. That's amazing, dude. I totally believe power of music. I don't know. There was a while back that I actually didn't like going to worship, but changed my mind recently.
And also,
well, not recently.
His prayer is more powerful, I think, in groups, because pray as a group for that miracle, for the healing in the miracle. So
yeah.
I think prayer is more powerful in groups than by yourself.
I think God just notices that everybody is sharing that same compassion that they're praying for that person or praying for that thing to happen. So it may be more powerful, but I still think every prayer is pretty powerful. But anybody else got any really cool stories?
I got one.
All right.
Okay, so
Is it at Passion?
No, this
right.
is my retreat we did. No, Passion was pretty cool, but cute, cool. But I'm saying
It's cute.
cool. Okay, so last over the weekend before Thanksgiving, we did a retreat. We did worship every night. It was 3 nights. First 2 nights, it's about 50 kids. First 2 nights, there's those students that and they're like, yes, Jesus, during worship and all that. But on the last night, a crowd. We did 10 songs straight. You know, that's all we were doing. That, and if you wanted prayer time, you know, there's leaders in the back, which I was there doing the prayer team. And when, by the end, last song, kids that you would be like, no, they're too cool for Jesus. Kids that their parents just made them go on. All pretty much except for maybe like 2 kids, just sold out. You could feel the Holy Spirit in the room.
That's awesome.
Just pure amazing. And every time John talks about that story, he's like he's never felt the Holy Spirit more in that room, and it brings him to tears every single time he tells that story. It's just an amazing moment when you can feel the Spirit and the genuine compassion and passion. I should say passion instead of compassion. You know, in the room. You know, hey, I'm tired. Okay, don't judge.
From somewhere.
No, but you know, funny story about Pat. Did y'all see the street guys that were yelling at us?
No, I didn't, and I wasn't there.
Okay, so there's fire and brimstone pictures while we're waiting to go into Passion. I mean, all these people are paying to see something about Christ, and people talk about the Bible. Yet there's these fire and brimstone people yelling at these college students that are taking their weekend in the middle of the semester to go, praise Jesus. And they're yelling at them that they're becoming of the world. I mean, that's not what you do to college kids. Go to another place where there's a bunch of heathens and go yell at them. You know? It's one of the stupid things in life. Yeah. You never get people like that. But none of them have their own Wikipedia page. No, when I was at the University of Oklahoma, every preacher that ever came on our campus had their own Wikipedia page. No, not a little short thing. I mean, they had a long page. They're preacher at these hardcore Southern Baptist churches in Oklahoma. So, and they go across different campuses and do fire and brimstone talks. Yeah. And majority, since it's kind of Oklahoma is a liberal school. Yeah. So there's a bunch of atheists there, and they're just making fun of him the whole time.
I had one of those in Colorado, but he got somebody started throwing rocks at him and stuff. It was weird.
Well,
yeah, it was crazy.
in America,
They had to get the right.
people.
And that was before I was a believer, so I was like, I don't understand any of this. I didn't know
Houston's the number one trafficking state in the United States for trafficking humans.
What? How did we? What?
Wait, Houston's the number one city in the United States for trafficking humans. 18,000 people come through Houston that are sold through Houston to slavery.
Yeah, so I think everyone should wear red.
Oh, cool side note.
Yeah.
We'll talk about End It movement right now. I'm going on. I want to roll.
Keep going.
Okay, so End It movement because there's 27 million slaves in the world right now. That's approximation. There could be way more. We don't know. People are sold into slavery. People are kidnapped into slavery. That happens a lot here in the United States. One of the biggest things is right during the Super Bowl, people that go by themselves to the Super Bowl, afterwards they get kidnapped. It happens at every Super Bowl. A lot of people, like hundreds of people. Like, this is not a little thing. And it's so for the End It movement on February 27th, they're being cool. 27 million, 27th. I like that kind of humor, that kind of stuff. I like those little things. So put a red X. It's nothing about raising money whatsoever. It's just bringing awareness. So on February 27th, red X on your hand. And their website is enditmovement.com. Also, they love it if you tweet or Instagram, you going with your red X, go and end it.
I want you.
And they said they'll retweet every single person.
Nice.
So then you get retweeted by organizations. Then you'll probably get other retweets and favorites and all that fun stuff. Whatever, it'll boost your self-esteem. There's positives. Okay? And you'll feel good about yourself because you're sticking up for a cause.
Yeah.
I also like that the day that the movement is happening, that's 27th. I also like how it's the same day as the closing ceremony of the Sochi Olympics.
True that.
Yeah.
The End It movement.
We're ending the atrocities that were the Sochi Olympics.
USA lost today.
Dude, curling is the best sport in the Olympics.
Hey.
No, either that or biathlon.
Hockey.
No, biathlon.
All across ski
I got something to say.
Alright.
So I've been reading a book that I got from Passion.
Which one?
The Passion book.
Okay.
The one that came with the deal.
Well,
Right or life. But anyways, I came to this chapter by Louis Giglio, and it's one of his sermons. And it's basically about the story in Ezekiel, about where Ezekiel's going in, the Lord, or the Holy Spirit led Ezekiel into this valley of dry bones. And he
Francis Chan.
Yeah. So basically, he asked the Lord, or God asked Ezekiel, "Do you think that these dry bones could live again?" And in Ezekiel's mind, and all of our minds would be like, "No. What are you talking about? These dry bones are like dead. I'm crunching on them right now. I'm destroying them. I'm kicking them left and right." But he stops and says, "Only you, sovereign Lord, no." And then we fast forward into Ephesians, where Paul says this in Ephesians 3. Now to him who is